In Greenwich, Connecticut, a startling crime disrupts a peaceful morning. A jogger in Woodlake Park makes a grim find. A luxury car parked off a quiet trail, its driver's side window broken. Inside, the body of Jason Morgan, a 52-year-old healthcare CEO, sits slumped and lifeless, clearly the victim of a violent attack. Jason was a known figure in the pharmaceutical world, leading a successful company and admired for his drive, but also envied by many. The method of his murder gunshots that suggest calculation and intent points to someone wanting him gone, not just a random act of violence. Detectives Emily Harper and Ray Dawson arrive at the scene, quickly taking in the severity of the situation and beginning their investigation with urgency. Their first step is to scour the scene for any usable evidence, knowing that every second counts. They document everything: the position of the car, the pattern of the shattered glass, and the state of Jason's body. The absence of witnesses means the detectives have to rely heavily on what the physical evidence tells them and what they can gather from Jason's last known activities. As news of the murder spreads, the community is left reeling, grappling with how such a brutal crime could happen in their midst. Meanwhile, Harper and Dawson dig into Jason's background, his business dealings, and his personal life, which all suggest a complex web of relationships marred by professional rivalries and personal conflicts. Each piece of evidence they uncover deepens the mystery, setting them on a path that promises to expose more than just the identity of Jason's killer. Their investigation is set to reveal the hidden tensions and secrets that lay beneath the surface of Jason Morgan's seemingly successful life. As the detectives piece together the puzzle, they are driven by the knowledge that understanding the motive behind his murder is key to catching the killer. Each clue brings them closer to the dark truths hidden behind the town's facade of tranquility. With the initial crime scene thoroughly examined, the investigation swiftly moves into the life and times of Jason Morgan. Detectives Harper and Dawson shift their focus from the cold facts of his murder to the intricate details of his personal and professional circles. This exploration reveals Jason not just as a business leader, but as a man with multiple layers, some of which may have contributed to his untimely demise. Jason rose from modest beginnings to become a key player in the healthcare sector. His ambition was legendary, propelling him to the top of Medivax Inc., a company he transformed into a billion-dollar empire. Yet his success was not without its shadows. The investigation uncovers that his assertive style and relentless pursuit of success often alienated colleagues and fueled quiet resentments. As detectives dig deeper, they interview co-workers and friends, piecing together Jason's last days. They learn of his complex relationship with his wife, Catherine, a partnership that seemed more strategic than romantic, built on mutual benefits rather than affection. The facade of a perfect life begins to crumble, revealing a marriage strained by infidelity and indifference. Parallel to the unraveling of his personal life, Jason's professional dealings come under scrutiny. The detectives uncover questionable business practices within Medivax Inc., suggesting that Jason's aggressive tactics may have stepped on more than a few toes. His drive for power appears to have created a host of enemies, any of whom might be motivated enough to harm him. As each interview concludes and every record is examined, Harper and Dawson compile a list of potential suspects and motives. They find themselves navigating a complex web of jealousy, betrayal, and intrigue that extends far beyond the initial crime scene. Each discovery not only brings them closer to the killer, but also paints a more comprehensive picture of a man who lived his life on the edge, where ambition often met with peril. With a roster of suspects and a clearer picture of Jason's troubled professional and personal life, the investigation shifts to focus on key individuals who had the motive and opportunity to commit the murder. Among them is Melissa Adams, Jason's executive assistant, whose closeness to him both professionally and personally makes her a figure of interest. Melissa, known for her competence and ambition, had risen quickly within Medivacs Inc. Under Jason's mentorship. Detectives Harper and Dawson scrutinized her past, learning she was more than just an assistant to Jason. Rumors of an affair between them circulate within the company, adding a layer of complexity to her involvement in the case. Interviews with colleagues depict her as someone who is both admired and resented, her rapid ascent within the company fueling jealousy among her peers. As they delve into Melissa's background, the detectives uncover financial transactions and gifts from Jason that suggest their relationship was deeply intertwined with the fabric of their professional lives. Expensive gifts and large sums of money had passed from Jason to Melissa, raising questions about the nature of their relationship and whether it could have led to conflict. Concurrently, the detectives look into other employees who might have held grudges against Jason due to his management style or business decisions. This line of inquiry reveals a network of strained relationships and professional jealousies that might have motivated someone within Medivacs to act against Jason. With Melissa as a key suspect, the investigation begins to piece together her movements and communications around the time of Jason's murder. They examine phone records and emails, looking for any evidence that could link her directly to the crime, aware that her proximity to Jason does not prove guilt, but certainly warrants a thorough investigation. As each piece of evidence is considered, the image of a troubled executive assistant emerges, caught in a web of professional obligations and personal feelings that may have driven her to extremes. As the investigation deepens, the focus sharpens on the days leading up to Jason's murder, with particular attention to Melissa's actions and whereabouts. Detectives Harper and Dawson sift through security footage, cross-referencing Melissa's statements with tangible evidence. They uncover discrepancies in her alibi, noting times she claimed to be alone do not align with videos showing her movements. The investigation reveals Melissa's intense interaction with unknown individuals, captured on surveillance just days before the murder. This new angle prompts the detectives to probe her communications further, uncovering late-night calls and suspicious transfers that could suggest a premeditated act. Simultaneously, forensic experts analyze the murder weapon, finding fingerprints and DNA that could potentially link Melissa or another suspect to the crime. This evidence becomes crucial as it might directly connect someone to the murder scene, solidifying the case with physical proof of their involvement. Amidst this, the detectives also revisit interviews with Jason's wife, Catherine, and other close associates who might have insight into his relationships and potential conflicts. They begin to see a pattern of emotional and financial manipulation that threads through Jason's personal and professional life, suggesting motives that go beyond simple jealousy or resentment. Each discovery builds a narrative that is increasingly damning for Melissa, yet the detectives remain methodical, aware that assumptions can mislead. They prepare for a thorough interrogation, planning to confront Melissa with the evidence gathered to see how she explains the inconsistencies and direct links to the crime. This confrontation is seen as a pivotal moment in the investigation, potentially leading to a confession or a redirection of the investigative focus based on her responses. The pivotal confrontation with Melissa Adams unfolds in a tense, meticulously prepared interrogation room. Detectives Harper and Dawson lay out the evidence methodically before Melissa, observing her reactions closely as they present the surveillance footage, the incriminating financial transactions, and the damning phone records. Her initial composure begins to crack as the weight of the evidence mounts against her. During the interrogation, Melissa is pressed on the discrepancies in her alibi and her financial entanglements with Jason. The detectives challenge her explanations, pushing for truth amid her increasingly desperate justifications. As Melissa struggles to maintain her narrative, the detectives introduce the new forensic evidence linking her to the murder weapon. Melissa's facade finally collapses under the relentless questioning, leading to a breakthrough in the case. She begins to divulge details of her relationship with Jason, revealing the pressures and fears that plague their interactions. This confession opens up new lines of inquiry regarding her motives and her state of mind at the time of the murder. Simultaneously, Harper and Dawson reevaluate the evidence with fresh insights from Melissa's confession, aligning her statements with other known facts to assess her credibility and the veracity of her claims. This careful analysis helps them to solidify their case, ensuring that all pieces fit into a coherent narrative of what transpired. With Melissa's admission, the investigation moves towards a critical juncture, aiming to either confirm her sole involvement or to unveil any additional accomplices. The detectives plan their next steps, considering broader implications of her revelations and preparing for potential legal proceedings. Their strategy now focuses on securing a conviction and bringing closure to a case that has deeply affected the community. With a confession in hand, detectives Harper and Dawson shift their investigation towards securing sufficient evidence to support a solid prosecution. They re-examine the accumulated evidence alongside Melissa's statements, aiming to close any gaps and strengthen their case. They also expand their inquiries to ensure no other parties are involved, scrutinizing Melissa's connections and any potential accomplices who might have influenced or assisted in the crime. The detectives collaborate with forensic accountants to trace the financial ties between Melissa and other suspects, which could indicate broader complicity. They also delve deeper into the background checks and digital footprints of individuals Melissa mentioned during her confession, verifying her story and assessing the credibility of her claims. Meanwhile, the legal team prepares for the trial, formulating a strategy based on the evidence gathered. They focus on constructing a timeline of events that is corroborated by digital evidence, witness statements, and forensic findings. This timeline is crucial for presenting a clear and compelling narrative to the jury. As the case progresses, Harper and Dawson keep the victim's family informed, providing them with updates and preparing them for the trial's emotional toll. The community's interest in the case grows, with local media closely following the developments and the impending trial. In this final phase of the investigation, every action the detectives take is with an eye towards ensuring justice for Jason Morgan. They are meticulous in their preparation for court, knowing that the strength of their evidence must meet the rigorous standards of proof required for a conviction. The culmination of their efforts is a comprehensive presentation of the case, ready for the judicial process that will determine Melissa's fate and hopefully bring resolution to a shaken community. As the trial date approaches, the community's attention is riveted on the courtroom proceedings. The prosecution, led by a seasoned district attorney, begins by laying out a detailed case against Melissa Adams using the evidence meticulously collected by detectives Harper and Dawson. They present a sequence of events supported by digital evidence, financial records, and the crucial testimony of forensic experts who link Melissa directly to the murder scene. Throughout the trial, the prosecution crafts a narrative that paints Melissa not just as a participant, but as the orchestrator of Jason Morgan's murder. They highlight her motives, driven by personal and professional betrayals, and demonstrate how her actions were premeditated. Witness testimonies corroborate the timeline, adding depth to the prosecution's portrayal of her involvement. The defense, on the other hand, argues that Melissa was caught in a web of circumstances that escalated beyond her control. They suggest that while her actions were wrong, they were the result of emotional distress and manipulation by others within Medivax Inc. The defense seeks to introduce doubt about her intent and the extent of her involvement, pointing to possible coercion or undue influence. As the trial unfolds, both sides battle over the interpretation of evidence and the credibility of witnesses. The courtroom dynamics are tense, with the jury faced with the complex task of sifting through the arguments and evidence presented. The community watches closely, divided in their opinions and anxious for justice. The legal proceedings are exhaustive, with each day bringing new revelations and insights into the inner workings of Medivax Inc. and the personal lives of its key players. The outcome of the trial hinges on the jury's interpretation of Melissa's role in the murder, whether they see her as a mastermind or a pawn in a larger scheme. The trial reaches its climax with closing arguments that recap the evidence and appeal emotionally to the jury. The prosecution emphasizes the need for justice for Jason Morgan, while the defense pleads for a nuanced understanding of Melissa's actions. The jury then retreats to deliberate, tasked with delivering a verdict that will conclude the high-profile case and deliver justice to all affected parties. The jury's deliberation is a period of intense speculation and tension. After hours of discussion, they reach a verdict that will seal Melissa Adams' fate. When the jury returns to the courtroom, their decision is met with bated breath by all present. They find Melissa guilty of first-degree murder, accepting the argument that her actions were premeditated and driven by a blend of personal vendetta and professional rivalry. The verdict sends a wave of relief and sorrow through the courtroom. For some, justice appears to have been served, reflecting the gravity of the crime committed. For others, it's a tragic end to a saga that exposed the darker underbelly of corporate competition and personal relationships gone awry. Following the verdict, the judge delivers a sentencing that reflects the severity of the crime. Melissa is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, a decision that underscores the legal system's commitment to holding individuals accountable for such serious offenses. The sentence is intended not only as punishment, but also as a deterrent to similar crimes, highlighting the consequences of allowing personal grievances to escalate into violent action. As Melissa is led away, the impact of the trial on the community and Medivac Inc. continues to resonate. The company faces scrutiny and a loss of trust that may take years to rebuild, if it can be rebuilt at all. The employees and executives of Medivac are left to grapple with the revelations of the trial and their implications for corporate ethics and leadership. In the aftermath of the trial, the community and those directly involved reflect on the lessons learned from the ordeal. The case becomes a touchstone for discussions about corporate governance, the pressures of high-stakes business environments, and the moral responsibilities of those in power. The fall of Melissa Adams serves as a stark reminder of how deeply personal and professional lives can intertwine, leading to disastrous consequences when boundaries are crossed. The story of Jason Morgan and Melissa Adams remains a cautionary tale, discussed long after the trial concludes, serving as a sobering example of ambition and betrayal. The aftermath of the trial and Melissa's sentencing marks a period of reflection and change for Greenwich and Medivac Inc. The community, having been shaken by the high-profile case, begins to heal and seek closure. Local discussions increasingly focus on the importance of ethical conduct and the need for transparency in both personal and professional realms. Medivac Inc., now spotlighted for its internal discord and the catastrophic actions of its executives, undertakes significant reforms. A new leadership team is instated, committed to reshaping the company's culture and practices. These leaders advocate for stronger oversight, ethical training, and a more collaborative work environment to restore trust among stakeholders and the wider community. The town of Greenwich, meanwhile, engages in community outreach and support programs designed to help residents process the events and reinforce community bonds. Schools and community centers host talks and workshops on the impact of crime on communities and the importance of supportive social networks. Media coverage of the trial and its implications continue to spark national debates about corporate accountability and the psychological impacts of power dynamics in high-pressure environments. This coverage helps to spread awareness and drive policy discussions aimed at preventing similar incidents. For those personally touched by the tragedy, life slowly begins to find a new rhythm. The Morgan family, forever altered by the loss, finds some solace in the justice served, though the scars remain. They, along with other employees who work closely with Jason and Melissa, work on rebuilding their lives, their careers, and their sense of security. As years pass, the story of Jason Morgan, Melissa Adams, and Medivax Inc. becomes a case study in business ethics and law enforcement circles. It serves as a sobering reminder of the consequences of unchecked ambition and the deep human costs of corporate malfeasance. This case continues to influence how companies are run and how leaders are trained, ensuring that the lessons learned from this painful chapter are not forgotten. Years after the trial and the changes initiated by Medivax Inc., the broader impact of Jason Morgan's murder remains a significant topic of study and reflection. Universities and corporate training programs frequently use the case as a crucial example of the ethical challenges and interpersonal dynamics that can exist within corporate hierarchies. This sustained interest helps ensure that new generations of business leaders learn from past mistakes. In academia, the case is dissected in business ethics classes and criminal justice courses, where students analyze the legal outcomes and the moral questions raised. They explore the roles that leadership, governance, and personal morality play in shaping business practices and preventing corporate crime. These discussions often lead to thesis papers and research projects, contributing to a broader understanding of how crime can affect corporations and communities alike. Documentaries and true crime shows also find a rich narrative in the story of Jason Morgan and Melissa Adams, drawing audiences interested in the complexities of law, psychology, and business. These productions provide a detailed look at the case, including interviews with key players and experts who offer insights into the psychological profiles and motivations of the individuals involved. The legacy of the case also influences corporate governance policies worldwide, prompting companies to institute stricter ethical guidelines and more rigorous checks and balances. These changes are part of a global shift towards corporate responsibility, where transparency and accountability are prioritized to prevent the types of abuses and betrayals uncovered in the Medivac scandal. As a result, the case of Jason Morgan and Melissa Adams transcends its local origins, becoming a symbol of the need for vigilance and integrity in all levels of business. It serves as a constant reminder to individuals and corporations alike of the potential consequences when ethical lines are crossed. The story, woven into the fabric of contemporary discussions on corporate ethics, continues to resonate, ensuring that the lessons it imparts will influence behavior and policy for years to come. As the narrative of Jason Morgan and Melissa Adams continues to evolve, it becomes integrated into the cultural fabric as a cautionary tale about the intersection of power, ethics, and human frailty. This integration extends into various forms of media and public discourse, reinforcing its lessons and keeping the conversation alive. Literature and scholarly articles delve deeper into the psychological aspects of the case, exploring themes of ambition, betrayal, and redemption. These works examine how personal vulnerabilities and corporate environments can interact disastrously, providing new insights and frameworks for understanding similar cases in the future. In addition, the case has spurred legislative action aimed at tightening regulations on corporate governance. Lawmakers, influenced by the public outcry and the clear gaps revealed during the trial, passed new laws to enhance oversight of executive actions and ensure greater transparency in financial dealings. These laws also aim to protect whistleblowers, making it safer for employees to report unethical behavior without fear of retaliation. Educational institutions have also responded by developing curricula that focus on ethical leadership and decision-making. These programs are designed to equip future leaders with the tools they need to navigate complex ethical landscapes, emphasizing the importance of character and integrity in leadership roles. Community organizations, too, take up the cause, organizing seminars and public forums to discuss the broader societal implications of the case. These events serve as platforms for dialogue on trust, justice, and community resilience, helping to mend the social fabric that was torn by the events surrounding Jason's murder. Through these diverse channels, the story of Jason Morgan and Melissa Adams serves as a perpetual reminder and educational tool, its lessons radiating outwards to influence a wide array of initiatives and conversations. It underscores the enduring relevance of ethical conduct and the profound impact of our choices on our lives and the lives of others around us. The enduring impact of the Jason Morgan case continues to resonate through new initiatives and technologies aimed at preventing similar corporate tragedies. As the case becomes a staple in risk management discussions, companies increasingly adopt advanced data analytics and AI-driven monitoring systems. These systems are designed to detect early signs of misconduct and financial irregularities, providing a proactive approach to corporate oversight. Furthermore, the case inspires a series of professional workshops and conferences where executives and managers are trained not only in compliance but also in fostering ethical climates within their teams. These training sessions emphasize the human element of business operations, encouraging leaders to prioritize empathy and open communication, which are critical in mitigating conflicts and maintaining morale. Social impact firms and ethical investment funds also draw lessons from the case, using it as a benchmark for evaluating companies in which they consider investing. They look for signs of robust ethical practices and transparent corporate governance as indicators of long-term viability and integrity, influencing how capital flows in the business world. Additionally, the case motivates a push towards more comprehensive employee assistance programs, EAPs, that offer support for mental health, stress management, and conflict resolution. These programs aim to address the underlying personal and professional pressures that can lead to drastic actions like those seen in the case, promoting a healthier work environment. Finally, the legacy of Jason Morgan's case is cemented in annual ethics awards that recognize individuals and companies that demonstrate exemplary ethical leadership and make significant contributions to promoting transparency and integrity in business. These awards not only honor positive role models, but also serve to continually remind the corporate world of the value of ethics and the dangers of neglecting them. Through these various adaptations and innovations, the lessons of the case permeate deeper into the fabric of corporate life, driving changes that aim to ensure such a tragedy is never repeated, and reinforcing the critical importance of ethics in sustaining the health and success of businesses and the communities they serve. As the ripple effects of the Jason Morgan case extend further, they catalyze a broader societal movement towards increased corporate responsibility and individual accountability in professional settings. This movement gains momentum as grassroots organizations, civic leaders, and policymakers collaborate to enact more stringent ethical standards across various industries. This heightened focus on corporate ethics stimulates the development of new educational resources and public awareness campaigns. These efforts are designed to educate the public on the importance of integrity in business and the role of the consumer in demanding ethical behavior from corporations. They provide tools and strategies for consumers to assess and influence corporate behavior, empowering them to make informed choices and advocate for fair practices. Simultaneously, universities and business schools respond to this evolving landscape by integrating case studies like Jason Morgan's into their curricula at an even deeper level. They develop specialized courses that not only address ethical decision-making, but also explore the implications of technological advancements on privacy and transparency in the corporate world. These academic offerings aim to prepare students to navigate and lead in a business environment increasingly defined by its moral and ethical challenges. Nonprofits and international organizations also take up the mantle, launching initiatives that promote global standards for business ethics. These initiatives foster international cooperation to tackle issues like corruption, embezzlement, and unethical competitive practices, advocating for a unified global response that transcends cultural and national boundaries. Moreover, the ongoing dialogue inspired by the case encourages a reevaluation of the legal frameworks governing corporate conduct. Legal scholars and practitioners debate and design new legal frameworks that better address the complexities of modern business operations and misconduct. These frameworks aim to provide clearer guidelines and stronger deterrence against unethical behavior, reinforcing the legal infrastructure necessary to support and enforce high standards of corporate governance. Through these diverse but interconnected efforts, the legacy of the Jason Morgan case becomes a cornerstone of a global movement towards ethical business practices, reflecting a collective commitment to ensuring that the business landscape is not only competitive, but also conscientious and just. As the global movement for ethical business practices solidifies, it prompts innovations in technology designed to support these ideals. New software and platforms emerge, providing companies with the tools to automate compliance checks and ensure continuous ethical oversight. These technological solutions leverage big data and machine learning to predict potential ethical breaches before they occur, offering a proactive approach to corporate governance. In parallel, advocacy groups and regulatory bodies strengthen their efforts to maintain momentum in ethical business reform. They establish benchmarks for corporate behavior, which serve as standards for industry-wide assessments and awards. These benchmarks encourage companies to strive not only for compliance, but for leadership in ethical business practices. The public discourse surrounding corporate ethics evolves as well, with media outlets dedicating more resources to investigative journalism that holds corporations accountable. This increased scrutiny ensures that ethical breaches are brought to light and addressed promptly, reinforcing the public's role in demanding transparency and integrity. Educational institutions further adapt by incorporating virtual reality simulations into ethics training, allowing students and professionals to experience real-world ethical dilemmas in a controlled, immersive environment. These simulations are designed to hone decision-making skills and instill a deep understanding of the consequences of unethical behavior. Finally, the international community sees strengthened cooperation in enforcing ethical standards across borders. Multinational agreements and treaties are forged to tackle the challenges of globalized business operations, ensuring that companies cannot evade ethical responsibilities by shifting operations to regions with less stringent regulations. Through these ongoing developments, the legacy of the Jason Morgan case not only continues to influence policies and practices, but also inspires a continuous cycle of innovation and improvement in corporate ethics, ensuring that the commitment to ethical business is both enduring and dynamic. The culmination of these efforts manifests in the establishment of a new international watchdog organization dedicated to monitoring corporate ethics on a global scale. This entity, supported by governments and private sectors alike, operates with the authority to audit, report, and sanction companies that fail to uphold agreed-upon ethical standards. Its creation marks a significant milestone in the practical application of the lessons learned from the Jason Morgan case. Concurrently, technology companies that specialize in ethical compliance software begin to integrate artificial intelligence more deeply into their products. This integration allows for real-time monitoring of company transactions and communications, flagging unethical behavior more swiftly and accurately than ever before. Such technologies become standard tools within major corporations, crucial for maintaining a clean ethical record. On a more grassroots level, a surge in community-led initiatives takes shape, focusing on local business ethics. These initiatives involve local businesses in pledge programs where they commit to transparent practices and regular community audits. This initiative not only strengthens community trust, but also encourages local businesses to adopt ethical practices as part of their core operating principles. In academia, the focus on ethical business practices leads to the establishment of a global academic coalition. This coalition develops universal curricula that can be adapted for diverse educational systems, ensuring that students around the world receive consistent and comprehensive training in ethics from an early age. The curriculum includes case studies, contemporary ethical challenges, and strategies for ethical decision-making, emphasizing the interconnectedness of global markets and the universal importance of integrity. These broad and varied efforts ensure that the legacy of the Jason Morgan case transcends its origins, inspiring a comprehensive and ongoing global dialogue about the essential role of ethics in business. The case becomes a touchstone for both the dangers of ethical negligence and the potential for redemption through concerted collective action. Through these layers of ongoing impact, the case fosters a more ethically aware generation of business leaders and consumers, poised to uphold and advocate for integrity in all aspects of business and governance.